live. Hello, friendly neighborhood agitator here. And Daniel, that a little bit. There you go. Thank you with the fade in. Anyways, your friendly neighborhood agitator here, Cliff Cawthon, and I am the host. And well, I'm happy to be your host here for the season finale of the Unmasked Agenda. And I am here with two friends of mine. And you know what? For this episode, as advertised, we're going to do something new. We're going to do something fun. And we're just going to kick it. We're just going to kick it the way that guys that like to hear themselves talk on podcasts do, except we're actually going to share some hot takes and try to have some fun. So without further ado, starting from my far right, sorry, I had to make a joke, but I'm messing with you. My longtime friend, and actually I will say an early contributor in both content and also videography to the show, Mr. Mirko Clark. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Love your shirt, by the way. Viva Cuba Libre. And then a new friend, new Politico to our ecosystem here in Seattle, but not any less insightful, and also a good friend of mine. I've known you for what, a couple months now? Yeah, it feels like we're family, man. Like someone who I am excited to see what you do among Seattle's left. Mr. Jamil Brown, absolutely. All the way from the East Coast, surviving the DMV. And by the way, that does not stand for demilitarized something. That is the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Mm-hmm. A true den of scum and villainy.
It is a swamp.
Yep. And unfortunately, Trump likes it. Yeah, that is true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unfortunately, Trump likes the swamp, as we see with that sewer-sucking piece of filth.
As we do.
Yeah. So anyway, without musing too long, I want to take this opportunity before we begin to thank all of you. This is not the end of the Unmasked Agenda. This is our season finale, and once we start season 3, we are going to have a wider reach. We're going to have Jamil and Mirko back. We're going to have new guests, but in the last couple of seasons, Daniel, how long have I been back? About a year and a half? Oh, yeah. Special thanks to Mr. Daniel Bellis to my left, right here, just off screen, our producer with the mostest. I've worked with him through the iteration of my show. And forever, he has been forever patient and kind and always willing to jump in and help out. And honestly, you don't get paid enough for what you do. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Anyway, but yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. When we first started this, so Jamil, before I met you, Mirko, you might remember this, I got a bunch of us together and said, I have this idea for a show. It all started with an idea because there are so many things that are happening. And I've had the honor of knowing so many amazing people, including yourselves, in the community. So why don't we just chop it up and talk about what's fun, right? What we like to talk about. Take all the conversations we have in cafes and bars and use them to educate, elevate, and hopefully energize folks in the community. And so thank you guys for being on this journey with me. And also, before I get all weepy and forget, thank you guys for being on this journey with me as well. Funny enough, you may not know this, but I'm the son of journalists. Both my mother and my father worked for local newspapers in New York State before I was born. So, journalism has always been an interest of mine. It's always been a passion of mine, even though I did not get a degree in journalism. I've always respected it. I've always embraced it, and I've always had reverence for the brilliant journalists that sit in the press pool and ask the tough questions and hold people accountable and deliver that small truth to us all. So thank you. Well, now, without further ado, let's talk about, let's see, what should we talk about first? What do you guys think?
Let's talk about Mom Donnie's sweep.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Democratic Socialists for the win.
Dude, okay, so I've been blabbering on. What do you guys think? What questions do you have for me? What do you think?
So I think we've seen in the aftermath of the sweep, and maybe we should talk about the sweep itself. Like, do you have any questions about like how we got here? Because I've got questions about sort of how we're going forward. And, I'm seeing in this moment a lot of reckoning with mainstream Democrats around the fact that Democratic Socialists are beating long-term incumbents in what was, blue seats that no one thought would go even farther to the left.
Right.
But while they're doing that, we've also seen that it's been a backlash to that. It's been a rejection of the voters at the poll box who are putting down and saying, we want these policies. What do you think is going to bring mainstream Democrats in line with the voters? Will they, succumb to their own sort of political ambitions?
And what's interesting is all of these are DSA candidates. Some of them in states where Working Families Party, where they have like a chapter, they've been endorsed by them. But specifically, all of these candidates have identified with DSA. That I find interesting too, because usually a problem with the American left we see is that we have this tendency to fracture and for infighting and for sectarianism. And amongst some leaders, a very culty personality, and not even just culty personality, but a tendency to make it all about their show. And with DSA, on the other hand, that what went from one of those smaller fringe groups, because I remember back in the before Bernie Sanders was cool, back before 2016, where DSA was just a small organization. And I think today, since they've made it into the mainstream, they've grown in an interesting way where, like, I hate to say it, but I don't mean like the Democratic Party and their politics. While there are some folks who have a few more liberal tendencies I've met, I myself am a DSA member. I've met, through course of like learning about the organization, that have slight liberal tendencies in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. That the organization has been big enough and flexible enough to bring in everyone from the broader left that the Dems have left behind. Marco, I feel like you've been marinating some thoughts. What do you think?
I like DSA. If you're out there, join DSA.
Yes.
Join your local DSA.
We have cookies.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with DSA. And shout out to another party
WFP.
that I belong to. Not WFP.
What?
Freedom Road Socialist Organization.
All right.
FRSO, a Marxist-Leninist organization. You should also join that organization.
And also the Working Families Party.
And the Working Families Party. If you have any more bandwidth after you've joined those two organizations, join the Working Families Party. We're growing in Seattle. We're gonna make an impact this election cycle. Join the party.
And you know what? I have a special place for Working Families Party in my heart because I helped found the branch here, the King County branch, and then you had a really great committed core of Seattle activists that year ago. It's actually almost a little bit over a year ago. So it was their anniversary they founded the Seattle Solidarity Pact, which you're now a member leader of, right, Marco?
Yeah.
So my question, and by the way, love Freedom Road Socialist Organization. They're wonderful people. And also shout out my fellow DSA members, not meaning throwing under a bus by saying there are some liberal tendencies, but going back to the win, the interesting thing is there's been a couple of things I found. One, there's this document that you sent me, Mirko, about like the Promise to America platform where centrist Democrats, and I'd love for us to get into that. And then with that, there was also, I forgot if it was an article, and Jamil, maybe you have it, but there's an article about the Dems basically taking a retreat, like Democratic Party leadership nationally going on a retreat to like figure out like, hey, how can we like stop the Democrats? Like that has like a entire secret meeting, right? Like they're being panned, they're being left behind by millennial, Gen Z, so many people for being these elitists, and the first thing they do
yeah, no, it's the poor people that's wrong. Let's have a secret meeting, figure out how to knock them out of elections.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard, but like Kamala Harris has apparently been texting Mom about her presidential run, which I've heard, the quote that I heard was lengthy text, which I can't imagine he's saying anything but don't run for president.
Right.
There's nothing else
it's like, you try, this will be a third time, sis. Like, you know, and here's the thing, right? She's even reaching out to like Palestinian activists now, and like,
it's a great time to do this.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 6 months before the last election, that would have been the time to engage the anti-genocide, wars in the Middle East Democrats. Because the fortunate thing about her, to me, is the Democrats, and I think we're going to talk about this in The Promise, is that the Democrats in my entire life have ran on the carrot ahead of us of actual progressivism, actual social safety nets. And, this sort of last election cycle at the national level and at the state level and congressional level has really shown that the mainstream Democrats have no trust and credibility with the voters.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Like, it wouldn't be the first time a president has gone and wore the sheepskin of being a progressive and gone and talked and shook hands with all the black activists and whatnot. And then when they got in office. So even if she speaks to every single leftist and goes and says 100% of the points that I believe in, I don't have any trust that she's going to enact it. And, it seems like if the mainstream Democrats put any energy behind her, it's just another doomed ticket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I was just looking at the website, and I think this is very emblematic. So I'm going to read this and try not to vomit, okay? America is stronger than our politics. Politics forces false choices between extremes on the right and left. We reject them on, let me do my best hand kill, propane and propane accessories. Too many Americans have not benefited from the last half century of economic growth. Americans want an economy that lowers costs and lowers the cost of propane, expands opportunity and rewards the people who work hard every day. Okay, a bunch of platitudes. So, and then when you get into this, right? Okay, so their whole big platform is safety, security, and human dignity. We want safety, not lawlessness. Fiscal discipline, government that works. We are mainstream, not extreme. We believe Americans can disagree without division. We stand for moderation, acceptance, and respect. Confident patriotism and national renewal.
I like that they never mentioned immigrants or minorities a single time in this Promise to America.
Right.
So once again, I'm like, does the umbrella go towards the left? Is this a very right-leaning umbrella?
So funny enough, I forgot the first part. I totally forgot the first part. I actually scrolled past it. Marco, do you want to do the others or?
I think people at home will just get a sense that they open it up with we are capitalist, not socialist, and that tells you everything you need to know. These are the adults in the room that promised to stop Trump on 2 occasions and failed and fell flat on their face. And I think the populace, the regular person recognizes that. And
not just that, just the predicament we find ourselves in now. That was a bipartisan consensus.
Yeah.
And these folks will not acknowledge that the bipartisan consensus was that, again, we are the adults in the room, and dealing with immigration in a fair and just way means militarizing our borders.
Yeah.
It means empowering ICE and giving in to that one Karen that's on the PTA and goes to state council meetings and screams at the city because of her petty grievances and has no concept of the complexities of international politics or no concern for Black and brown folks in the city in which they live, let alone the rest of the world, right? And demands that the Department of Homeland Security gets formed after 9/11, that it is empowered under Barack Obama, that Obama speeds up and creates the infrastructure to have a more robust deportation machine. That every single proposal that could directly benefit working people, from a public option, not single payer, but just a public option that is not controlled by capital in terms of healthcare, gets nixed. That that any kind of direct stimulus or guaranteed jobs program, or even I'm forgetting the name of the legislation, but legislation that would have strengthened and protected workers' ability to unionize, gets nixed. And then once we have an economic collapse and our generation is effectively left in the lurch, let alone the next generation, that we get Trump after the Democrats put forward someone who is, in my opinion, one of the epitomes of plutocracy, Hillary Clinton, and has no credible economic or social plan, and also shuns Black Lives Matter at a time where America, for an instant, finally at least is aware of the murder of Black people en masse by the carceral state. And she shuns that, right? And they put her forward, and it's like, just vote for her because it's a lesser of two evils, right?
Well, her husband, Bill Clinton, did the same thing with the Sister Soldier movement.
You know, like you brought up in the beginning of this, how this Democratic Socialists that are running on a policy platform versus a personal brand charisma platform.
Right.
And my sort of view of this has been like, ever since Obama won, that was the last sort of very much an identity campaign.
Right.
But the last sort of campaign in my lifetime of promises at the policy level.
Absolutely.
And I think the Democrats, as much as they don't want to admit, have used Trump as the boogeyman to sort of use. I mean, he is the bad
he's
option.
a fascist.
He's a fascist. But they have used that to sort of not actually develop any sort of progressive policies while still running for multiple election cycles, which is,
Absolutely.
One of the reasons why, like you said, we lost this presidential cycle. The 2016, this most recent one is the people are sick of these faces. One of the things, you can't run a brand when the brand's tarnished.
And, just something to note is Kamala Harris did have concrete policy proposals, except if you have no credibility and how should I put this? And you have not inspired anyone to really believe in what you're saying, then it's all, it's lost.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that one of the, things that, to your point, Jamil, that the Democrats time and time again have done is use the argument of lesser of the two evils versus these policies will concretely benefit your family, and let us work together to imagine a better tomorrow and make that happen.
Yeah.
There was a moment in time, though, during the campaign where Kamala did say that they were going to go after price, or they did say they were going to go after price gouging.
Yeah.
But then I think her brother-in-law worked for Uber, was like, hey, you can't talk
what
like
a great
that.
example.
Don't do that.
There we go.
And then that sort of got put away. There was some energy when she picked her VP, Tim Walz, because he was a little more progressive and did some great things as governor. But then, then the whole Gaza thing happened.
Yeah, and that's the thing. How hard is it to just say it is a genocide? You have the entire United Nations, you have the UN before, and I'm going all the way back to some reason I want to call it Operation Cast Lead, but I know it's not. But back in 2010, I remember marching for Gaza then, and before that, but specifically Israel's assault on Gaza then, and that time,
bombings,
and the blockade, and at that time, if you called it a genocide, which it was, and has been recognized as a genocide for the better part of 50 years. The one critique I would make of the left, and this is my hot take, my first hot take of the show.
Do we have a counter?
About 19 minutes in, is that we on the left, I think we should have gone after AIPAC and not for the reasons. Well, let me back up for a second, because that's the thing. Trump is a fascist, and the Dems, and I will say the Dems lost this race. Like, they lost this election. They could have come out she could have come out anti-genocide, said disagree with President Biden, and like differentiate herself on that. So it was the Dems' campaign to lose. And for the left, let's say we live in alternate universe, or Harris won, right? AIPAC, J Street, this entire ecosystem of Israeli policy support would still be there.
Yeah.
And we'd still be fighting the same fight, except with a bit more rhetoric and maybe humanitarian aid corridor, but it would essentially be genocide in slow motion again, right?
Or not. I mean, you don't know, because the Greater Israel Project is in effect. They're in southern Lebanon. They are still
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Genocide in slow motion.
Not in slow motion, in fast motion.
No. I don't mean in this timeline. I meant like in alternate timeline where she won.
Well, I mean,
like it would have still been the Greater Israel Project in genocide.
Let's just think about it logically. They were gonna continue to attack the people of Gaza. Hezbollah was going to retaliate. Israel was going to then again attack Lebanon and probably invade Lebanon.
Yeah,
because ultimately
that's exactly what I'm saying.
He's talking about the incremental
I'm saying if Harris is elected, it's still full-throated Greater Israel Project expansion into Lebanon. That doesn't change.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not slower. That's just the same.
Well, I mean, it would have. How should I put it? It would have been that with extra steps. Which, again, isn't better, is not better at all, because it's still genocide, it's still expansionism, it's still terrorism but anyway, what were we going to say?
Well, I was going to, I think what I think I'm getting from both of you is Trump right now obviously is expedited, very much just rubber stamping everything genocide, doing it through executive orders. I do think one of my criticisms of the mainstream Democratic response to Trump's accelerated genocide is to be he needs to go through the proper channels, which is that's not creating an answer. That is just adding steps to it. It's not necessarily and I think that's where the neoliberal sort of mechanic is Terminator X esque bloodshed is sort of being shown, and it's no longer viable with the voters, because they're just by managerially pen stroking killing people. Even if that's in Gaza, if that is healthcare system in America, that for a long time people were ready to be at least it's respectable. My hot take is maybe there's no real difference between killing someone and being I deny you the right to health. There's pretty much no difference to me. If someone is terminally ill with a chance to survive, it's we have Good Samaritan laws in certain states. Right. You can't just see someone dying on the side of the road and be fully in your ability to help them and just walk away. But if it is done for the profit motive, even if that's here or abroad, our defense contractors are creating these weapons. It's somehow the neoliberals have done an excellent job of sort of washing that out and being that's just people doing their job, or whatever.
Yes. So I do want to talk about one other thing, actually bring up this kind of this very bureaucratic dystopian reality that we have within this neoliberal consensus, because I think that's quite important when thinking about the recent Supreme Court verdict on Trump's birthright citizenship executive order. So the 14th Amendment, just for those that might not remember AP American history, right? That after the Civil War, you had a number of Africans who were previously enslaved and now in this interesting limbo state where, pursuant to U.S. law, in case like Plessy v. Ferguson, we're not fully American citizens. However, and Deontay, love you too, bro. Love you too. We appreciate the shout out from the Grand Marshal of Seattle's 2026 Pride Parade, Mr. Deontay Damper, and also legend in your own rights, activist, a fellow journalist, all around amazing person. So, love you, fam. Anyway, but just before the break. What do you guys think about the way they ruled and how, whether or not this could be considered a victory? Oh yeah, and the 14th Amendment, for those that didn't know, sorry, I digressed, granted enslaved people citizenship. So if you have American parents, if you're born on American soil, then you are an American citizen. Mm-hmm. Full stop, right? Equal protection under law. And Trump's birthright citizenship executive order on the first day of administration sought to undermine that by making it, if you were undocumented or if you're on a temporary visa and you had a kid here, the kid was no longer an American citizen, which that's not the way the law works. The president can't just wish away the law through an executive order, but it was immediately challenged and very contentious. So I'm going to shut up now. What do you think? Could we say yay victory, or is there something else here?
I will say that the Trump administration made an argument in court that Native Americans were born in America and didn't have citizenship. That was his argument. That was their argument.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this history.
Was that the lower court decision?
No, that was at the Supreme Court. No, that's what they were arguing at the Supreme Court. That Native Americans were born here and weren't citizens. So you should rule with Trump and say if you were born here doesn't necessarily mean you're a citizen.
It seems like they don't remember the 1923 Snyder Act. But anyway, sorry, that was an absurd argument.
Yeah, I mean but it's true because that's the history of this country.
Yeah.
Of separating families, and over this past weekend, they've increased the ICE raids. Over 10,000 people have been arrested.
By the way, just to clarify,
I think putting these two things together, I think he was expecting to sort of go after people who are registered Democrats who were born here, who have foreign parents, and that was going to be his avenue to try to win. Steal an election. I mean, he's going to try any way that he can. Yeah. But I'm glad that the Supreme Court ruled the way it did.
I mean, I think.
And by the way, I apologize for interrupting, but two things. One, just to clarify for folks at home, if Native Americans are American citizens, but when I mentioned the Snyder Act, that before that was true. Where if you were Native American, you're not automatically a U.S. citizen. But those changed in 1923. But everything else you said, absolutely. And we're about to go to a commercial break. I apologize for interrupting us, fellas. But as we do, just a little bit of information. If you need help getting around traffic during the World Cup, King County Metro is offering free shuttles. Oh, wow. Free shuttles to game days with all the details at kingcounty.gov/metro/C26. That's kingcounty.gov/metro/C26. Also support the show and others by donating over on Venmo at Rainier Avenue Radio or online at rainieravenue.radio.world. And also, Jamil, when we get back, you get first word. And now to some messages.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
World Soccer is officially here, and with that, more traffic. Luckily, King County Metro has a plan. We've added more buses, more drivers, and more trips to keep everyone moving. Whether you're a local or a tourist, heading to work or a match, Metro is the way to go. Plan your ride at kingcounty.gov/metro/SEA26.
Hey, Seattle, tune in to Lidline Sports every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
What up, yo? We are back. This is Pep, and the man that don't take no mess, Mr. O.P.I.S., Mr. Stevenson. What say you?
I hope you see the hat that I'm wearing right now. That's how mad I am.
I do. Man, you are angry.
I just want to make that be known.
Tune in to Lidline Sports every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Lidline Sports.
So my doctor told me to go online to check my test results, but I didn't know how to do that. Thankfully, I could turn to Link to Care WA for help. With Link to Care WA, I was able to learn how to use online health portals, use telehealth to talk to my doctor virtually, and manage my prescriptions online. I called the hotline and spoke to a real person who taught me the skills I needed. Call Link to Care WA at 866-757-1832 or visit linktocarewa.org.
My name is BK, International Talent Scout. I'm bringing a brand new show to you called BK Presents. 30 minutes, non-stop, your favorite in gospel music. The studio session, going deep into interviews with your favorite artists, producers, and their engineers. You and your music. Concert previews and concert reviews. Get it all on bkpresents.com. Here we go.
Buying a home isn't just a purchase, it's a legacy move. Maybe you're just starting your home ownership journey, or maybe you're a homeowner who's fallen behind on your mortgage, property taxes, or HOA dues. Wherever you are on your path, Washington Home Ownership Resource Center connects you to trusted guidance every step of the way. Vetted resources, trusted referrals, real support. If homeownership is your goal, or you're trying to protect the home you already have, don't face it alone. Visit homeownership-wa.org or call the Homeownership Hotline at 877-894-4663 today. The Washington Home Ownership Resource Center, educating and empowering future and current homeowners in Washington State.
Ladies and gentlemen. Speak Up Seattle. We are Rainier Avenue Radio.world, the station that cares.
Don't ever forget.
Hello, friends. You are listening to the Unmasked Agenda here on Rainier Avenue Radio, and I am here with my friends Jamil and Mirko, and we were just right now we're just hanging out. Our finale is kind of, it's kind of like a what do they call an Irish farewell, except we don't have any drinks on us. But yeah, so Jamil, I believe you were chiming in on a recent Supreme Court verdict around birthright citizenship. Right.
We consider this in the environment that the Supreme Court has also expanded presidential powers.
Yeah.
And sometimes the same day as it is,
right,
supposedly protecting our privileges, our rights as Americans, they're also opening it up on the other side to more executive authority. And I do think we have to. The fact that this was upheld in court is a good thing. Effectively a good thing.
Of course.
I think the idea that this is going to be used to attack our election system is 100%.
Mm-hmm. Which is wild.
Which is, it's
right.
It's an admittance that they are not going to be able to win on a policy, on
of course not.
On a fair campaign. And we're the Supreme Court is not doing its job, in my opinion, to completely check that. And maybe we don't know if they can at this point. They're already denying working around these judges' orders. Trump, in the aftermath of this, is saying, I'm just going to do it by executive order. So,
which is funny because the whole thing was a ruling on an executive order, which is no, you can't. But he doesn't understand what words mean. And the funny thing about this, and going back to your point, Mirko, is that obviously anyone with a brain would know it's clearly we have the 14th Amendment in place that was not changed through a 2/3 vote in each chamber of Congress or the 3/4 of the states passing a constitutional amendment or calling constitutional convention. Instead, Trump just got up one day and be like, yeah, I don't like this law, so we changing it because I say so. That's not how that's not how government works in any sort of rational, reasonable democracy. But anyway, to my point, my hot take is yes, and if the Supreme Court ruled in any other way, it would have not just destroyed their credibility, but fundamentally, it would have destroyed the credibility of the federal government, potentially driven us close,
in a dystopian A24 way close to a civil war, because the 14th Amendment, it wasn't just enacted after the Civil War, but what the 14th Amendment did is expanded the franchise of citizenship beyond just white people and beyond specifically white men. And even though we had to fight an additional, dang near century for that to be realized through the Voting Rights Act, which they have gleefully eviscerated. Yeah. And we'll, talk about. I hope we get to that. Oh yeah, no, we'll talk about it. That fundamentally, all three of us here, anyone that's born here, anyone that's born with American parents, anyone that goes through the proper naturalization system is an American citizen, and that's just due process. And that is the fundamental constitutional arrangement that doesn't just give us our citizenship and empowers us with the commiserate rights and blah, 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 but also empowers them. Yeah. That is a constitutional arrangement that says we, as a Supreme Court, have authority, even though we're green lighting just objectively horrible things like separating ICE being able to have the power to literally to put 2 to 5-year-olds in front of a judge without a lawyer in an immigration hearing, or empowering states to keep trans kids from just playing sports, which they handed down that ruling at the same time. So if they had been like, actually, you know what? Let's just give this to our boy Trump because why not? Rubber stamp, rubber stamp. What authority then would they have to say, like, wait, if you're going to countermand the entire constitutional ratification process just to give this dude that much power, what kind of legitimate authority does the federal government have? Bob Ferguson has just as much authority as Trump. Like the bodega owner down the street has as much authority as the Supreme Court, if that is how they're going to do the Constitution, because then it just would mean nothing.
Yeah, it kind of brings.
That's my hot take. Sorry.
No, I agree. I think it brings it back to like, there is no law without enforcement, and there is no sort of, legitimacy without the support of the public. And, it is almost going back to political theory class and the idea that states used to enforce their power strictly through military. And that's like, I think kind of the worry that I have is like, without the legitimacy that comes from, sustained, repeated democratic outcomes, the only authority the federal government can enforce is a violent authority. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's. And to your point about like the Voting Rights Act and similarly the 14th Amendment, we fought a civil war. We had a mass protest in the segregation South against, to get Voting Rights Act. I kind of, in the last couple of months when the Voting Rights Act was gutted, my immediate kind of thought was like, F that. But also we have fought for it before, we can do it again. But we shouldn't have. We shouldn't have to. But in the same sense that this is being done onto us, I do think they are playing a bit of chicken with the public in terms of like, are you willing to once again go back out in the streets and be ungovernable to the point of getting your Voting Rights Act back? And
Mirko, I'm curious about this, but like this gutting of the Voting Rights Act, the kind of chicken they're playing with the whole birthright citizenship thing, because during the break while we were chatting, I think you might have raised the point that it's like or Jamil, but actually I think it was a combination of both of you, where their argument wasn't necessarily we fundamentally disagree with this on a moral and a political level, and it's historically inapt argument that you're making. They just said like this argument is not coherent, it is not congruent with like case law and with the constitutional precedent and what we understand the Constitution to actually be talking about, right? Like how constitutional law is interpreted. So come back later with a better argument. So I don't know, do you think like that all this is going to play a role in like the upcoming election?
I mean, the fact that Trump was able to even present that case at the Supreme Court just changes the conversation. We're like in a different world now. People are talking about like if people, are born here, should they be, American, So
in the Trump administration is using other means. So it's a completely separate thing. I think a lot of people don't acknowledge, which is terrifying, is exploring and actively utilizing. They've just started to roll this out. They I want to say it is the Justice Department is looking into denaturalization.
Yeah.
Like he has directed his administration on finding ways to denaturalize people, like find little technicalities. And mind you, this is amongst naturalized citizens. So there are ways where, as a naturalized citizen, or even as a U.S. born person, you could lose your citizenship. But like, it's a very high bar. We're talking about like treason. We're talking about like you got to go and join ISIS if you're born here, or like even if you're naturalized, like you have to do like high crimes in just up to treason to lose your citizenship, right? But Stephen Miller, Trump's right hand toady, and the Justice Department, I believe, are actively looking into these methods. I just fear that's how they're going to go after voters.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to have to, because they're going to have to go after the naturalized citizens. Yeah. Oh, no. Actually, you didn't declare this thing on Form F back in 1997. So therefore, hold the phone.
I mean, they're already trying to I don't even think they're going to be that sophisticated in my mind. Like, I think we've already seen them trying to persecute people for Antifa-ness, which is like, if they turn this into some sort of criminalized activity that is undefined, they won't even have to be like, you didn't sign this document. They'll just be like, you posted things.
Right.
And, my kind of worry is that this is the inevitable goal is to eventually, go after just born American citizens.
Yeah.
But we're on that point where they are absolutely trying to be like, if you were born out of this country and have lived here 40 years and you would vote politically unaligned with the Trump administration, you are potentially on that denaturalization list.
You know what's funny is they're sending like FBI agents to people to their homes, regardless of whatever walk of life they come from, to harass them about posts. So Mirko, prepare for a knock at the door. And I will just say this for the record: F ICE, they are terrorists. They terrorize our community. By definition, they are a bunch of scoundrels and thugs and dim-witted, illegitimate hoodlums that have been given power by the federal government to go after grandmas and moms and aunties and uncles and just normal people. Come at me, feds.
Sometimes
I should not exist.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about that we live in such a techie part of the country, and that maybe somewhere on a server in Washington State, there is absolutely a government list of all these ICE officers. And, leaks happen and people are entitled to rebel against their government.
You really want to visit there, huh?
I'm just saying, we live in an interesting world. And I think sometimes people forget that they are we are, as leftists, we are the creators of value and of stuff. And sometimes I think people forget that they are the creators of value and stuff.
Not just leftists, but workers.
Workers, yes. Yeah. I mean, I think, every worker is a leftist in some part of themselves.
Right. Once you really start to discuss class struggle, the most conservative guy is like, I actually might agree with that.
Yeah.
By the way, Mirko, I saw you were looking down at your phone. What you thinking?
I was looking up NPSM 7. Have you guys heard about that?
No.
There's a presidential memorandum that directs the Joint Terrorism Task Force to look at
Antifa.
Yeah.
Right.
This group.
Right.
So
trans ideology.
I think there's that's already in the works. I don't know. It feels a little bit one battle after another.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So before I forget, and trust me, we could dive even more into this. I actually have a clip from earlier today where I talked to Hannah Krieg, and I was thinking we could kind of do a little react video type thing to it because we had an interesting conversation about the stranger endorsements, which I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Go ahead. Hey everyone! So if you are listening to this, we are officially in the second half, and we've had a really great discussion tonight so far. Earlier today, well, for me, it's right now. You're listening to this later on tonight. I was able to meet up with our amazing friend and all-around journalist without a boss in Seattle, Hannah Krieg, to talk about what the hell is going on with the stranger endorsements. Help me make sense of like what's been happening, because I feel like a lot of this is traced back when you left the stranger, and like it's changed in management and all this.
Yeah, I mean, I think what sometimes we forget about in the reaction to stranger endorsements is it's kind of always like this. There's kind of always a few oddball endorsements. I've definitely been a part of, I used to work at the Stranger, and I've definitely been a part of Stranger Election Control Boards, otherwise known as SECB, where there was a few that were really disliked by progressives, by people on the left, by, an array of people, and that we had to, kind of like hope that our arguments could defend. I think something that's been interesting about these endorsements, and I don't think all the endorsements that my name has ever been signed to are ones that I personally agree with. It's a democratic system, or supposed to be. So I'm not trying to like make any one person feel like responsible for like these endorsements that clearly some people are really unhappy with. But what I would say is different this time is the strength of the arguments. For me, it's just like you see the argument for Jamie Peterson. I think there's a progressive argument for Jamie Peterson. I do. I think that this one is a little dismissive of Hannah Sabio Howell in a way that comes off quite sexist, in my opinion. And the argument is kind of weak and more about, structural things, rewarding, I don't know. But and then also the arguments for, and I'm not necessarily a Will Dreyer hater. I had a lovely conversation with Will Dreyer. I think there is like a case to be made that you can, work for an evil Supreme Court justice, not when he was in the Supreme Court, and still be someone worth voting for. But I didn't see in the stranger endorsement really a positive or affirmative argument for Will Dreyer, which makes it, as a reader, why would I vote for him? Because all he did was kind of complain about his time with, I think I said Alito. I meant Kavanaugh. I said Alito.
Kavanaugh? It's Kavanaugh. Yeah.
But, so I don't know. Like, I think, but it is true that stranger endorsements never please everyone. So
interesting thing on this one. So there are three that stuck out to me. One was Shama Sawant, the endorsement of her. Two was the Hannah Sabio Howell endorsement, which that's kind of top of mind.
So before we go into like what I say about like Shama and whatnot. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the interesting things is like AI, and also like people, how should I put this? People aren't just going to like unseat an incumbent just because of like a singular argument, but also people are not necessarily happy with incumbents now. And I think one of the things I point out in the interview, and I'll go back to. And by the way, obviously we can chat while it's running, but is that a lot of folks are disenchanted right now, and that anti-incumbency message is actually pretty compelling. But also, it's not the only one that folks like Hannah or Will are making, and also, I mean, the whole thing will, anyway. But the whole, did you guys read the rationale around Hannah though? Hannah Sabio Howell, their endorsement.
Behind Hannah Sabio Howell.
Oh, it was a horrible rationale for Jamie Peterson. It was literally like the guy has been in, he's majority leader. Oh, why does Hannah have to run for this seat? Why didn't she go back and like run for something else? Like completely dismissive of her. So yeah, I would agree with Hannah Krieg where it says sexist, and because Hannah actually has a huge record of involvement in legislative affairs, going back to the time she was an aide, going back, but still, there's also what was it?
like this kind of, oh well, he passed a millionaire's tax, except like he wasn't behind. They do acknowledge like he wasn't actually like behind it, and they say, oh well, we can't give up the most liberal Senate majority leader in a century. And it's like there aren't like his replacement wouldn't be any less liberal. Maybe like Richelli from Spokane, but he's from a pretty liberal district. And as Hannah Krieg says in the interview, which don't worry, we'll post the long form of it on our website. Sorry, on our YouTube and Spotify channels. What they call it is an extra after the show. But yeah.
Do you guys think loyalty is killing the establishment Democrats right now?
5,000%.
Loyalty. I just think they live in a world that no longer exists. I feel like it's not even democratic socialist particularly, because you can look at what's happening in Maine with Graham Plattner. You can look at what's happening with El Said in Denver. Yeah. Like there's just sort of like Michigan, this. Denver, yeah. There's just sort of like this vibe shift. Like they talked about the vibe shift, right? Between Trump and Kamala Harris. Well, I think we're vibe shifting like the other direction, and you don't necessarily have to be like a card carrying DSA member. You just have to be like F the establishment. Right. They don't stand for me and you. Right. And you can pretty much like go from there.
I mean, look at where we are right now. But anyway, Daniel, do you want to go to like 10 minutes into the interview with Hannah and I? Because like I think that's where like when we get past Sawant, we get more into the discussion around like Hannah Sabio, how we bring up that exact point. It's like people don't want someone who is just going to represent the establishment, but actually represent him. Anyway, please feel free.
Than the average, than the voters here,
right?
And so it's like the 43rd is really a place that deserves someone who's super a bold leader. I mean, like this is a place that should be basically represented by 3 socialists, and we are represented by a guy who is milquetoast enough, whether you think he's progressive or not, milquetoast enough to be the Senate Majority Leader. And so he must have broad appeal. And we are not the average. I live in the 43rd, and I think you do too.
Yeah, same. We're neighbors. So
we're not the average Washington voter. We're not the average Washington Democrat. This district is more progressive, and we shouldn't have to sacrifice our senator for that consideration, I don't think. But the stranger feels the other way, that you should have to sacrifice.
Right. And I feel like it rewards this type, how should I put it? But it brings in both like lesser evilism and also rewards this type of. To this point, don't worry, you guys can always talk over me. But to this point, right? Like loyalty is absolutely killing them, because I mean, Jamie Peterson, I think for all that he's done, and again, respect to him for the work that he's done, because he has done some good work. Like the 43rd wants someone who is going to be a rabble rouser, someone who, from Hannah's background, has worked in labor, who is willing to put forth left of progressive legislation. It's not necessarily about something that Peterson's done, but the way he I would argue it's about the way he makes policy versus Hannah, who is much more grounded in the movements and grounded in the vibe. The political vibe that 43rd has.
So in what I'm getting from what you're saying is the way that he goes and he doesn't live with his community, the way that he sort of.
I mean, he does live in the 43rd.
In the 43rd. Yeah. But the way that he interacts with his community does not represent someone who, he goes to Olympia, he does his thing, and that doesn't really come back to the people and make them feel that he is in their corner, engaging them on a very direct level.
Well, not necessarily. It's more like he is not a socialist. Mm-hmm. He is a liberal. And remember, socialism and liberalism are two very different things. Right. And there are different degrees of socialism, varying more towards from democratic socialism that makes peace with like a heavily regulated capitalism to communism that seeks to abolish like capitalist property relations, and I can go on, but basically like a much more like worker party driven, you know, society. But yeah, like that's something where for, you know, Jamie Peterson, again, it's done some good stuff, but also like we've had, you know, like I know different like labor and folks from the left have had to bring him along. Yeah. And also, you know, when it came to the Washington tax and other things, and also his own like backing, like he's backed by many corporate interests, you know, many big dollar interests. He could just say no. He doesn't have to be, you know. Yeah.
I will say, like, if you're listening to this and you're wondering whether you should vote for Jamie Peterson or not, Jamie Peterson is the kind of guy who was behind the scenes during the millionaire's tax, like whispering with corporations to make sure it was something they could live with. And we don't need somebody like that to represent the 43rd district.
And ironically, another incumbent, Jerry Paulette in the 46th, that Will Dreyer is going up against, who's not a socialist, I should add. Not every challenger is like a socialist in this cycle. That he was the one that like argued against a big like loophole that would have allowed some wealthy people to basically avoid the tax, right? Where Peterson was not, you know, he was like, fine, if we have the votes, we can take out this loophole. But before it gets too late, I am just curious about your shirt, Mirko, and
Let Cuba Live.
And your feelings on that, because I have a particular relationship to Cuba, but I saw that, I was like, maybe we should talk about it.
Let Cuba Live. Go to the website. When you buy this t-shirt, you help fund solar panels for Cuba.
Let's go.
All right. And also, before we I don't know, I wish we could do like an extended version and talk about former Seattle State Councilmember Shama Sawant.
Vote Shama.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
You don't need to even think about it. Oh, that seems like that's a very liberal take. That's a very liberal take.
So funny enough, here's the thing.
Calling people names.
I'm rooting for.
I said it's a take.
Name calling. I am rooting. Yeah, well, I guess that's my hot take. Like, I think Shama's a cultist, but
so your hot take is like, vote for Adam Smith?
No, vote for Melissa Chowdhury. Here's the thing, though. I was disappointed in two things I saw in the Stranger recommendation. Was one, she declined on having an LGBTQ portion in her platform because she was like, oh, it might alienate some voters. And that's all the way wrong. And she's a friend, and I'll tell her that. I would be the first to tell her that. I was like, no, that's all the way wrong. There are many LGBTQ folks in all these different communities, and Muslim community, the Black community, Middle Eastern community, Latina, so on and so forth. And like, you know, homophobia, that is a tool of the colonizer, and we should not be perpetuating that even on a soft level. I'm not saying she is, but I'm saying like, you know, you gotta like recognize, you gotta be present. And then this other things, like she said that she would convert to the Green Party, and I'm like, all right, I don't know why. I mean,
that's not a bad idea. I'll tell you. I
mean, it's not like a horrible thing, but anyway,
you got to do a dirty break at some point in time,
right? Yeah. I mean, that's my personal preference would be just declare yourself a Working Families Party candidate. But anyway, that's just me though. But
Working Families Party. Shout out Working Families Party.
Shout out. So we only have a couple minutes left. Technically, we're a little bit over time, and I can definitely the hairs on my back are like, Cliff, wrap it up. So with that, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show. This will not be the last time. I'm glad. Thank you. And to everyone at home, thank you so much for sticking with us for 2 seasons. And we are so excited to bring you season 3 TBD. Please watch our socials. You'll see episodes of this show on repeat in coming months. And also, we will definitely, so again, Instagram, you can find me on Blue Sky. Personally, we have, of course, our account on Instagram and our YouTube channel and Spotify. And with that, Thank you so much for investing in the show. Thank you for your time. Stay righteous. Stay awesome. Don't back down. Keep moving forward for justice.
You're here.